Good evening, everyone. Hi, Peggy.
Hi, Jaime. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. I'm so glad you're back tonight. I know that you had a couple weeks there where you were out vacationing in
Yes.
some exotic, beautiful sounding destination. Is that correct?
No, I actually stayed home. It was my family who came to see me. So I
Oh,
had,
that's right. That's right.
yeah,
Oh, no, the exotic destination is later in the year.
later. Yes.
That's right.
Yeah,
So then you had some good family time, right?
absolutely. Much needed.
Yeah. Did you have to do a lot while they were here, or were they kind of helping you out, or was it more of a family
Uh,
event?
they're older. Wow. They brought my grandkids with them. So they have their own children. I just got to enjoy everybody.
That's great. That's great. I love family time. That's why Christmas is always one of my favorite times of the year, just to have family close to me and everything else. And
Yeah.
it's like, yes, I love all the warm feelings. So
Yeah. So it was
um,
real nice.
nice. Good, good, good. Well, while you were gone, everyone, we had, oh my gosh, Peggy's business partner, Lisa, on the show the last couple of weeks. And let me tell you, Peggy, Lisa did amazing. Like, her information was extremely like thought juicy, if I can make
Oh,
that a
yeah.
word. Okay.
Oh,
Like
absolutely.
I was speaking with people afterwards and telling them just how I felt more in tune with choosing it. I say choosing, it's really going to be how it works out, but just cementing the idea that I'm pretty sure I believe I want to be in the ISA role of things, right?
Yeah.
But some of the stuff that she had shared, like, it really made me feel. There was this one point when she spoke, Peggy, that was like, a lot of people don't know what they're putting out there when they do the job descriptions for these
Correct.
roles.
Yeah.
And it gave me this confidence where I felt like, man, I feel like I can go into an interview or apply for these positions and then really sell them on why I'm a good choice. I love the methodology that she shared. I am like, I need to study this and make it like a second nature thing for me, because PCI is one thing, right? The framework is one thing, but the methodology, how to move that framework across into practical, right? Like,
Correct.
that's what I picked up from Lisa, and that's why I was like, oh my gosh, I love this. The document she shared with us all and
Yes.
showed us how the
Isn't that
NIST
document
framework.
amazing?
It really was. And so if you're watching this right now and you didn't get a chance to see it, it's okay, because you can go back on YouTube and rewatch the last 2 weeks, last week and the week before, and see Lisa's part 1 and part 2 on the continuous PCI compliancy,
Yes.
and just soak that up. Just soak it up. It was
Well,
so
I'm
much gold.
I'm going to add just a couple of points to
Go for it.
our PCI compliance framework that she and I came up with, and how we overlaid it with NIST. Well, NIST is finally doing an update. It's been 10 years since they updated the security framework, and they finally added govern. We already had it there, so we're ahead of the curve. But if you take our framework, we overlay it with NIST. We also have another example of where we overlay it with ISO,
Oh, okay, okay.
um, and show you how things align. Now, we have a continuous compliance course inside of our resource workshop where we reference this document quite a bit.
Nice. So that was the document right there, you all. This is what
Mhm.
Lisa was going over the last 2 weeks and really sharing. And I did see that today or last night, I think, Peggy. I
Yeah,
saw that NIST was updating their framework, and I was like,
yeah,
ooh. And so I had need to go delve into that and learn a little bit more, right? But
yeah.
yeah, right here was it. And Demario, I will make sure to post the link in the chat here in a moment. But if you just go to www.cybergangsterscybersecurity.com, it'll link to the YouTube channel, and then just look for Lisa's. She has 2 videos that we did. Look for her 2 videos, and you'll get what this. She was talking about this, everything you see on the screen, and broke it down really nice. But yeah, the methodology for that Peggy and Lisa created and shared. I mean, it's really nice. Like, let me just a little bit more. If one of the things that I was curious about wanting to get into the field, Peggy, was like, I wanted to be able to convey in a way where it wasn't just PCI, the 12 requirements, the prioritized approach tool. And I think I was going in this direction when I kept looking at the prioritized approach tool. And I was looking at this, I was like, I think there's a grouping that I've yet to decode each of the milestones. I was like, there's something there. I just don't see it yet. But see, methodology was like, oh, wait, this is better. I feel more confident about the methodology and helping people be like, you know, I know I can help out majorly with this.
So here's the deal on the prioritized approach document that you can download from the council's website. It's a great document to use when you have to go before your acquirer to tell them that you're going to be late. And here's my pad that's going to tell you why or when I'll have my report on compliance to you. But honestly, the prioritized approach document is a starting point for companies that don't know what they're doing. But if companies have, if you see our compliance maturity model, if they're going from level 1 to level 2 in the maturity model, they know how to prioritize what they need to. Mm-hmm. And this is how we came up with the framework. Because the prioritized approach to me was just, I couldn't use it. Not to run a compliance program. I only used the prioritized approach document if I knew I was going to be late with my report on compliance. I had to submit that to the acquirer.
So that's good practical knowledge.
It's more of a project plan than anything else.
Yeah, but that's good. That's good knowledge to have because, again, for a lot of the people who watch us, they are learners, people who are delving into it and maybe don't have experience with it. And so knowing that piece of it is helpful. There's just so much information. So anything
there's a lot of information and not I love the people at the council. I know a lot of people that work there, right? However, unless you've worked inside a merchant organization, it's hard to tell people what to do and how to do it. Most people and most talk to any QSA, they've never worked inside a merchant organization. They don't know the ins and outs. They assess.
Right.
That's it.
And that makes sense, right? Because they hop from site to site. And regardless of however way you want to say, no two sites are probably ever the same. No. They manage their information security differently.
Yeah, so there's going to be some twist on it based on how the organization is structured. What their security objectives are, what their risk strategy is. Things are going to be handled different from merchant to merchant. So because most organizations either follow ISO or NIST, we overlaid our framework with both of them.
See, so and I know we've only seen the NIST overlay, but I do know that on your resource library there is an ISO overlay as well.
Yep.
And so maybe we need to do is have you or Lisa come back and share the overlay from that perspective for those friends out there who are familiar with ISO and getting into PCI. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Well, excellent. So tonight, what we were going to chat a little bit about, there's the Discord that I have, and I actually haven't even invited you to it, Peggy, but if you're welcome, you can. But there's a Discord for learners that I have called CyberGangsters Cybersecurity. And I was asking them, I was like, hey, are there any questions or any topics that you guys seem, that you'd be interested in? And there was someone on there who said, I actually have one because it happened to me recently. He said that it was very brief. So either he had someone come to him personally or his company went to him to ask, how do we find not only the correct PCI assessor, but also our security vendor, our
the ASV scan.
Yes, ASV scan. How do we find the right people there to come in? Like he was like, I don't know. I didn't know how to answer them per se, and it kind of makes sense, right? Because it's kind of like when you go to a medical doctor, right? And you can get any doctor, right? They all probably know the same thing. But there are times when you feel like you're like, man, I really wish I had someone who had a little bit more specialty or expertise in a certain area or not. And how do I know? And I've had doctors before where they kind of freak me out a little bit. And I'm like, you don't seem too experienced,
I
actually.
need a second opinion.
Yeah. And so we can all understand the idea of needing second opinions and feeling the right doctor for us when we go get medical checkups and everything else. So the translation of how to find the right PCI assessor made sense. And I thought, let me bring it up to Peggy and let's see what she says. And Peggy, what do you say on that? What's your thought?
All right. So you can only pick from the approved list on the Security Council's website. So they have a list of all the QSA companies. They have a list of all the ASV scan vendors. So you have to pick from there. But before you go and blindly pick, I'm sure that whether you're a senior director, a CISO, a CIO, whoever is in charge of your PCI compliance program, who's going to broker the deal with your QSA company, who's going to sign the contract, you need to ask your colleagues, your peers, who do you use to assess and what do you think of them? So it's kind of like, well, one, finding a new doctor for a specialty or getting a new hairstylist. The rule of thumb with a hairstylist is you need to ask 5 friends, who do you recommend? So the C-level staff, they have their peers. They have forums. Like there's a big CIO forum going on right now in Boston. So they're talking to their peers. And one of the questions, if I was in the market and I needed to hire a QSA company, I would be asking my peers, who do you recommend? Who do you use? What do you think of them?
Good
right.
point.
And then once you have some solid recommendations, you go down the list, you pick them. And then what you're going to do is you're going to set up calls with, say, the top 3 that you've been recommended, because you need to interview these people. Right?
Okay.
They're contractors. You're contracting them to come in and assess you. You're parting with some cold, hard cash. And depending on your environment, you are paying anywhere from $250,000 to over $500,000 for a QSA company to come in and do your assessment. And in some cases, if you don't have the right setup, they could be also providing you the project management skill set that you need to run a report on compliance, because maybe you don't have anybody on staff that is an ISA or a project manager or knows anything about PCI other than it's 3 letters, right?
Right.
So you could be looking at them to, but don't do that because you're going to pay through the nose. They're not, they just get more expensive. Most consultants like that have a blended rate upwards of $200 an hour.
Wow.
Okay. So yeah. So, but once you have, talked, say you bring in your top 3 picks and you've interviewed their senior director, or you've talked with, maybe you even know the managing director that you're going to be working with. And usually the managing director is not your assessor. They assign you a team that has a lead and maybe 2 or 3 junior QSAs. So it's an interview process, just like us going out and looking for either consulting gigs or jobs. It's an interview. And it goes both ways. So the CIO of company X is going to be interviewing a managing director of QSA company X. They'll talk to them about certain things, and there's certain questions I would ask, like how many people will you provide? What's your response times when my lead ISA is emailing you? How do you feel about working with my ISA? And always bring your if you've got an ISA on staff, bring them in.
This is what they're used. This is what they're for.
Yeah,
this is their jam. They should. Your ISA should not be left out of engagement with the QSA, right?
Exactly. In my role as an ISA, the QSA company was already there before me, and I actually knew them, so it was cool. But every couple of years we'd go, should we switch QSAs? And I'm like, no.
You've already got that
we're
rapport
not
built
switching
with them.
QSAs.
Yeah.
It's hard enough for me to train 2 new QSAs who got put on my on our rock every single year. And
Right.
it was literally me teaching them how to be QSAs. And I would usually tell the lead QSA, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And
So
his method was, they need to learn how to work with an ISA.
I could say so much on that. But for those of you, if you're just watching, and this is like one of your first times, one of the things that I've learned talking with Peggy and just learning through PCI and like the work and all, like QSAs are not generally, they are people that work for a QSA firm, much like a lawyer works for a firm. And so they are only working for this firm, and then they go out to organizations and they help out organizations, right?
Correct.
Your ISA is a person who works for an organization. They do not skip to other organizations,
Right.
but they may work with a firm or multiple firms, whatever the reason is, multiple merchant IDs, however way you want to work that. But the thing is that the ISA, they stay with the organization that they are working with, right? So
Yep.
QSA goes to a QSA firm, and ISA works for the organization. Let's just say CyberGangsters, Cybersecurity, for example. If I ran a business and we took credit cards, I might have an ISA on staff, but I would also hire a QSA, and they would work together for that. So again, just trying to help you as you're learning. And if you haven't heard this in the previous episodes, that's kind of the idea you want to hear. So in the QSA, what Peggy has shared with us in the past too, is that a lot of times you can have a QSA firm who assigns a QSA to your organization, but they may also come with some junior QSAs or associate QSAs, I think is what you said, right?
Yeah, the associate QSA program, which is, I think it's been maybe 2 years that the council implemented the associate program. And a lot of that had to do with feedback from organizations like my former company. And I gave feedback, which was, there's a lot of new QSAs who don't know what they're doing, and they need to be mentored. And it can't be an organization's ISA mentoring a QSA. They need to be working with a lead QSA who's got experience. So they have set up this tiered approach now where you're an associate QSA, I believe, for 2 years. You need to be working under a lead QSA who has at least 3 years of experience as a QSA as a lead, and for 3 different organizations on 3 different rocks. That not the same company. It's 3 different companies, 3 different rocks. So they have to have that under their belt. So there's been some more scrutiny on the QSA program because in my own experience, I've had junior, before the associate program came out, green around the edges QSAs come out and try to tell me how a requirement needs to be assessed when what they were telling me had nothing to do with the requirement or the intent or the guidance or anything. And I would be going, please tell me, where does that say that?
Okay, so you're saying like this is what I understood you said. You could have someone who's brand new, like like we said, the associate QSA come in, and I'm not bashing you guys out there who are in that realm. That's not what this is. This is more of an understanding and learning.
Experience. It's what I've experienced.
Right. But what we're saying is that so they could come in, and this is important. This is important. This is what I feel like. I feel like I have personally witnessed the challenges when it comes to understanding PCI, is that we can be quick at times to chug the information needed to pass a certain certification of some kind. And then once we pass it, we're not able to regurgitate that information back because we haven't really grasped mastery of the PCI requirements, of the guidance in there, of the real reason. And I think that's one of the challenges I see, Peggy, so many times, is that we are so quick to do that. And I challenge many learners in this area specifically. And I'm like, it's kind of a 2 sides of the spectrum. I'm like, don't force yourself to memorize all the PCI stuff. There's no reason to memorize it. It's all written down for us.
It's all written down,
right
and
there.
you know where to look.
Yeah, as long as you know how to control F, or you got that high level overview that's like on page 5 or 7, one of those, I can't remember right now. Page 5 or 7 gives you the main themes of each of the requirements. Yeah. I'm like, you've got that, so you don't need to work to memorize the requirements. No. On the other hand, you don't want to work to memorize whatever it is just to pass your exams. Like both of those scenarios, they don't do you any good. But work on the mastery. Work that when you hear like there's a password issue, you're like, oh, that's a requirement actually. Let me pull it up right here. Yep, it goes right there. Or default accounts on new technology that comes in. That's another one. Documentation. You know what I mean? So I'm getting on a little parapet, so I'm gonna get off here in a second.
It's okay. No, I think this is good to know, right? Because I think well, first of all, when I first became an ISA, I had the deer caught in the headlight. I don't know what I'm doing. And I thought I had to know everything all at once. Nobody was expecting me to know everything all at once. Nobody was. Nobody's expecting anybody to know everything. You can't. And it's not until you've been immersed in it day in and day out. That's why I always say that over the course of my tenure at my former company, I amassed 20,000 hours of experience. Now, to hit mastery, there's a theory that you need to hit 10,000 hours of experience. And how do you do that? Well, you do it. Well, if you're doing it 7 to 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's, 35 to 40 hours a week. You can do the math. You can figure out how long it's going to take you to mastery. I didn't hit mastery until my 4th or 5th year. That I had this, that all of a sudden, it's like when you're trying to learn a new language and then all of a sudden you start dreaming in that new language, you've hit mastery. Because you're dreaming in that language. Mm-hmm. Unless you're 6-year-olds pick up languages really fast. Adults do not. But mastery happened. One, I was dreaming the requirements. No joke. I was dreaming about solutions to compliance problems.
Yes.
And then I would be on a conference call and no notebook, my trusty notebook that Janetta and I joked about, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't have it, and all of a sudden, I'm rattling off. Nope, it's this requirement, it's this requirement, and I'm connecting the dots, and I have nothing, and I go, wow, I guess I understand what I'm doing now.
So real quick, yes, it does. Demario says, this is very helpful, guys. Thanks. I'm actually starting to get into this field, and this is great material. Thanks again. I'm glad to hear that, Demario.
I'm really glad to hear that. So one, you're not expected to know everything. And it's what's interesting is that I know that the job market landscape has changed from the last time I ever looked for a job, which was in 2012. That people are hiring managers are putting this, this clam chowder list of requirements together that you must have. I just went through one from a certain state with the Department of Transportation. And I wrote back to the person, the recruiter, and I said, let me know when your client figures out what they want. Because nobody's going to match this.
Yeah. No. And that's the challenge, because I am about to put my toes in the water, Peggy. I'm about ready to start looking and seeing who is going to be my partner for my, for my freshman voyage into PCI. We'll put it that way, right? And I have noticed some of the descriptions out there, and I'm like, you want all this? And I'm like, wait, but you're only going to pay what?
I know. Their expectations of who they think they're going to hire. And I don't even know. I said, are you looking for somebody to run your PCI compliance program or implement 15 technologies?
Yes.
What do you want?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. There was a buddy had shared with me, and he goes, what do you think? Should I go for it? And I'm like, So they want you to be the help desk, or they want you to run compliancy for them? I'm so confused by the job description. And they were like,
or what you'll see is across the board, right? It's mostly organizations who need to hire somebody who's going to be a great candidate for them to sponsor as an ISA, right? And then they say, well, we need a QSA. And I'm like, no, you don't. They assess you. You're not looking for a QSA. You're looking for somebody with rock solid IT security experience, at least 2 to 5 years. And I would be, honestly, if I were a hiring manager, I would be writing down must-have kick-ass project management skills. Right?
That seems to be like a no-brainer, to be honest with you. Speaking with you and going through learning the requirements myself, it is like, yeah, this is stuff that you should be able to, like you said, like project management is definitely more the field. And the security pieces, that make sense too. A lot of the IT components, it makes sense too. But honestly, even above that one, it seems like more of the management's, being able to track it all, like it's enormous.
And because depending on the type of organization, so if you're at a level 1 merchant, so they're doing over 6 million transactions, they may have a complex environment. They could have physical locations that are in scope. They could have hundreds and hundreds of assets that are in scope, multiple different ways to take payments. Maybe they are a little e-commerce, they're a little retail, they're a little of everything, right? So you could have something that is very complex. So so this is why you need more than one person at this type of company. And it's kind of funny because Lisa and I, we were the dynamic duo at our former company, and I knew everything Lisa knew and she knew everything I knew, but we split what we did. And we had a really good division because it was divide and conquer. Not divide and fall apart. It was divide and conquer. So I worked to my strengths because it doesn't make sense to work to your weakness.
I agree. I completely agree.
That's a lie. You don't need to improve your weaknesses. Just work to your strengths. So I'm a killer project manager. That's what I did for 25 years. I can manage a project on a napkin. Okay. And Post-it notes.
Impressive.
All right. But part of me is I also learned how to program databases. So I know how information works. I know how it needs to work together. I know how to pull in data and make sense and turn data into information that I can then take to my CISO or whoever, right? Lisa she's got really amazing project management skills as well, but she is so good on the technical side as far as I gave her the list of requirements to build out our automation tool. I'm like, this is how it needs to work. This is how we pull the data and turn it into information that people can use. So every company needs some kind of Peggy and Lisa. That's what every company needs.
And I appreciate you saying that. So everyone, when this is one of the things, like I haven't said it in this way, but Peggy just inspired me with it. It's you have to work or play to your strengths. A lot of times I see a lot of people who like to compare themselves to others in this. And as a learner in PCI, I've seen others who do that. And I'm like, man, already in the world, there's already a lot of things stacked up against this. Don't stack more stuff up against yourself. I have seen and spoken with people who I consider to be heroes of mine, and then I hear them like, oh, I'm not ready, so I'm pulling stuff down and I'm pulling my name out of the hat, and I'm like, why? You're so talented. And they're like, well, I'm not getting the right offers. And I get that. There is a piece of the pie or puzzle, however you want to say that is to, not getting the right offers at times and whatnot. But on general, the message I'm trying to deliver right now is that you guys, we need to play to our strengths, not fake everything out there, right? Like, not fake what we don't know, not look at other people and be like, that's what we should be like. Because I think when you have a strength, let that shine out and let that, come over, because that could be what wins people. I've been in a situation, Peggy, in the past where I've had to bring people onto my team, right? And I may be looking for a certain skill set or, traits that I think would mesh well with our team. But someone has come along and I've just been like, I don't know what it is. It's nothing that I'm looking for, but there's nothing that I'm displeased with either. And I would love to have that person join my team and come on. So I just want to tell you all, if you're listening to this part here, play to your strengths, own it.
Own it. I think, well, Lisa and I talk about this all the time. There's a reason why she didn't become an ISA. She's like, why should I? She's got that. And there's a reason why I would sit there and go, oh God, that's really technical. I understand what the requirements are. I'm going to give the requirements to Lisa. Here you go. And she'd be happy as a clam.
So I got that from Lisa the last 2 weeks, being able to hang out with her. And you can tell that there's definitely some more technical aspects that she owns and that she went with. So yeah. I hope, that's still one of my dreams. I'm hoping is being able to have the opportunity to bring people into it, however way, I'm really hoping I can raise up some of the people who I've had the pleasure of meeting throughout this journey. And I know that may be presumptuous in the beginning, but I do want to have a dream and a goal. And that is one of the things that I want to play to, is not just having the GRC and project management experience and owning those things, but the ability to really leave a program or build it up, get it off the ground, get some people in place, and then maybe redo it somewhere else too.
Exactly. I always used to, if people would ask me, are you trying to work yourself out of a job? And I said, yeah, that's the plan.
Yes. And that's, it was about 12 years ago. A gentleman I worked with at a Fortune 50 company, and he was like, he gave me that lesson. And I kind of knew it a little beforehand, but he hit it so good on the head. He was like, yes, if you put yourself in a position where you hoard all the knowledge, all the information, like you're just forcing yourself to stay stuck there. And if you're someone that wants to grow and continue, and that's me, Peggy, I'm always looking for opportunities to grow and learn and be better and more for me. And he was like, then if that's you want to make sure that you're dispersing that information, you're finding the talent that can raise up and take your spot to leave. He was like, if you're not training someone to take your spot, you're not making room for yourself to grow.
Man, I tried to train like 4 people to take my spot. Nobody wanted it.
No one. I had about 3 people, 2 or 3 people who wanted to take my job at one point. And my boss goes, they all want your job. Did you know that? And I was like, I sort of did. And he was like, do they not know how fun your job is? I was like, I don't know. I was like, but I'm willing to train them all. I was like, I will train them to take my job. I'm also not just going to hand my job over to just anyone either.
Right.
So, if you prove yourself, you're good. There's a couple of comments here I want to read off to the side real quick, Peggy. Over here, Lisa said earlier, she says, just because the QSA has PCI assessing under their belt does not mean they know how your company has implemented the controls to ensure you can meet the intent of the requirement. That is the responsibility of the ISA or person running your compliance program.
Yep.
If I had a comment of the week, this would probably be it right here. Yes.
And this is what we need to now, unless there's another comment, we need to dovetail into this, because
let's go for it.
I really want to make this clear that every time we started a report on compliance, I had mandatory training that the QSAs had to attend, because not only they needed to know how we had everything structured and set up, but they would also come along to all of the walkthroughs for the scope assessment, so that they understood that 1, we knew what we were doing, 2, we were going to make their life much, much easier, and 3, they had to follow our rules. I didn't follow the QS. So QSAs who come into an organization that does not have an ISA or even a compliance team, they just, the organization looks at them like the deer caught in the headlights and gives everything over to them. It's usually quite chaotic. And then the company now has to do things the way the QSA says, because the company doesn't have anybody. But when it came to what Lisa and I did, the
Mhm.
QSAs liked working with us because we had, it was organized,
Structure.
it was
Yeah.
planned, it was structured. We had a methodology to how we did the assessment, and not for anything, the last 2 years, it was completely automated. They loved it. They loved it.
That makes
And
sense.
there were the lead QSA that I worked with for 9 years. 9 years. He loved working on our account because we were the easiest account he worked on.
Oh, wow. That makes you feel good, doesn't it?
It does. Yeah. And Lisa and I would often joke, wow, because we, even though it looked really organized for the QSA, because, you know, it has to,
Yeah.
or that's the way we wanted. We also knew some of the chaos that would go in the back end that we were managing and coping with. And it's not like we were hiding it. The QSAs knew about it, but we did it in a very planned approach.
Sure.
You just don't have that when you don't have a good solid ISA. And this is actually part of what I'm going to be talking about at the European North community meeting, the PCI European. I'm going to Dublin. I'm on a panel discussing why it's so important to have an ISA.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need somebody who can talk to the QSA.
Yes.
And not be afraid to push back on the QSA.
Why do you think it's, I don't know if this is an accurate statement, Peggy. Does it seem like a lot of organizations are hesitant to pick up an ISA or assign an official ISA?
So I don't think I'm not sure if it's messaging or if it's, I don't know what it is. And that's why I think it's a topic for both, or maybe all three of the community meetings. QSAs, I think, get more visibility because it's mandatory. If you're a level 1 merchant, it's mandatory you have a QSA come in and assess you. You're a level 1 merchant, it's not mandatory for you to have an ISA, which I think is kind of a
little backwards.
A miss. It's a miss. It's a miss. And it causes a gap. And I think if more organizations knew that they could pull from probably an existing talent pool, right? Mm-hmm. They don't have to go out and hire somebody. Y'all might not like hearing that. But they could pull from existing project managers in their IT security department or internal audit. If they have an internal audit team, they could pull one of the auditors and say, hey, or at least do an internal job posting that says, we need this and we're going to sponsor you and we're going to send you to the ISA training and we want you to get your ISA certification. And as long as you're our ISA, we're going to always make sure that you keep your certification current. So there's a commitment to the organization, to the ISA. I had job security. I didn't have to quit my job.
So you're right. That may not seem encouraging for some folks to hear, although for some folks who are already in that realm, right? Like they may already be the auditors and you know, they may be even your help desk.
Could be your help desk. You could pull, you know, say you have an internal job posting for somebody to lead the PCI compliance program. And as part of that, there's an understanding that this person who gets hired into the role is going to go get their ISA. The company's going to send them to do this, right? They're not going to pay for it out of their own pocket. And to be an ISA, you have to be company sponsored anyway.
Right.
You can't
if you're an ISA,
on your own.
Yeah, you don't do it on your own, kind of like you would think any other certifications out there, but it's specifically the company that you're working for sponsors you. You get sent off to do your training. You take your exam. Once you pass, you have the certification.
Yep.
You can go on, and you know that people who have this certification, because it's not just that they know it. If you go to the PCI Council's website, right, Peggy, you can actually search a person's name or their organization. And the name and the organization, they're attached together under PCI's website.
Yep.
And so you know if they legitimately have
their
their
certification.
ISA certification, it will be listed under the PCI Council's website.
Absolutely. And I think you can even search for PCIPs. I mean, I have a cert number for my PCIP.
Oh, then that makes
So
sense. It seems like there would be then.
Yeah.
I've only seen the ISA, but yes. So, all right. So that brings me to a question there. We're talking about how to pick the right PCI assessor, right? So then if I know that I can look up an assessor's name and their certification eligibility, or, you know, their certification on the PCI's website, can I glean anything from that in terms of, well, no, that's just the ISA, right?
So yeah, so they're going to provide you the list of the QSA companies.
Okay.
So you're going to have that list of companies, but, you know, going back to whoever's going to be signing that contract with the QSA company, they need to ask their peers and their colleagues that are at their level. You know, who do you use? What are your recommendations? Again, it's like, you know, you need a specialty doctor, say you've got to have knee surgery or something, and you want to find out, well, who's the best knee guy or gal?
There's someone who has probably some more surgeries, successful surgeries under their belt than the other person.
Right. So there's a number of really good QSA companies out there. I'm not going to plug anybody. But you have to do your due diligence and your homework. There's also some QSA companies that aren't the most stellar, because there's some that do have a bad reputation in the industry.
Okay.
And then
so with that, I don't want to put you on the spot with any of that, but coaching people who are in a position to look for an assessor of any kind, are there some general things that you have seen that we can look out on people's websites? Or I like what you said earlier about how we would probably ask, how did you say it? I wanted to say partners, but not partners.
Peers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, we could ask our peers in the industry, or, you know, in the neighborhood, who are they using for theirs? I have a feeling sometimes that question probably goes one of two ways. It's either here's our recommend, or here's who we've used, or no, that's a good question, but now that you bring that up, we were going to ask you that.
We were going to ask you that. Another great way to find, or at least to be able to start your selection process, is to actually go to the PCI community meetings, or to go to, there used to be this thing called the Card Not Present Expo. I think they went out of business, but I went to 2 of their conferences. Any place that's doing a payment type thing, or security in general, IT security. Like, I've been asked, are you going to Black Hat this year? No, I've never been to Black Hat. I don't go there. RSA is one of the hubs for networking and figuring out who, you know, asking your peers and your colleagues, who's a good QSA company, because a lot of them are going to be vendors. They're going to be exhibitors in the vendor showcase. But the best way really is the PCI North American Community Meeting, the European Community Meeting, or the Asia Pacific. And now they're releasing tickets just for the exhibitors. You don't have to get a full conference pass. You can get it just for the exhibitors. And most of the exhibitors are QSA companies, or companies that provide a technology that can help you descope.
Okay.
So if people are like, I don't know, or if people are tied into their local ISACA chapter, because, you know, ISACA is one. They offer 2 of the certifications that the council recommends: the CISM, the Certified Information Security Manager certification, and then the Certified Information Security. I almost said assessor. Auditor.
I know. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, so they offer CISA, CISM, which are 2 of the recommended certifications that the council recommends for QSAs.
Certified Information Systems Auditor.
Yeah, auditor. Yeah, that's what I have. I have a CISA.
So my brain is going off right now real quick because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, ooh, the expos on and stuff. I was like, oh, I need to make sure to get to the homeowners expo this month or
there
next
you
month,
go.
right? But then I thought, wait a minute, they have business expos sometimes.
Yeah, they
I need to
do.
start my firm quickly and then go out there and be like, I can be your PCI. I can help audit your company for PCI. And then so my brain's going all these ways, but then I started going back around. It's like, yeah, so it would be really cool to be able to find some of these auditors, assessors, in those expos, right?
Yeah.
That makes great sense.
It makes great sense. This
I
is where
just
you're
looked
going to
up
find
the
your
Card
people.
Not Present, and you're right, they closed,
They
or their
close.
final issue was in December of
Yeah.
last year. So
yeah.
is it worth it to I'm exploring, thinking about getting into the PCI the club. I don't know what to call it. I lost what the word was, but I saw that, anyone can join the PCI Council's membership, I guess is what it is, right?
So no, it comes with a price.
Yes, I saw that too.
Yes, I'm actually an individual participant. I parted with some cash. I didn't part with a lot, but to be a participating organization, it is a lot of money.
Yeah, I noticed that. Okay, so all right, how do you feel like one of the questions I would think of is I work in an organization and I want to compel my organization to get a PCI professional, right? Or like a QSA. Is there a strategy or tact that you find that is useful and helpful for people who are trying to be like, yes, look, we need to get a QSA professional to come in also to help us out? If I'm already an ISA or the company's PCI go-to.
So if you're a level 1 merchant, you have no choice. You have to.
Oh, okay.
You have to have a QSA. If you're a level 2, 3, or 4, you don't have to use a QSA. But if you don't have an ISA or a PCIP, you better get a QSA.
Gotcha.
To come in and help you. I mean, I last year I did a small consulting gig with a small nonprofit. They'd actually brought in a QSA. The QSA did not provide them the guidance that they needed, so they brought me in. And the thank you that I got was, you gave us more actionable items than the QSA ever did. I'll be thanking you for the next 6 months. What? So even though I'm no longer an ISA because I don't work for a merchant, I don't have a sponsoring company, I'm not a QSA, I don't ever want to be one. I do have my PCIP, and because I have 40,000 hours of experience with this thing, or 20,000 hours, sorry, I can go into any level merchant and help them out.
Man. So I appreciate you sharing that, because it gives me some new goals to throw onto my goal board and be like, okay, you need to start building up those hours. I need to start putting them in, putting them there so I can get to that.
Yeah.
I really am, I really have a lot of hopes in this new field. Like, I'm sure many of you who are watching, who are looking at this, and you probably found this channel because you're getting in the field too, and you're trying to figure out how to make sense of PCI. There's a lot of different terms, a lot of different components, a lot of different, either a lot of different or not enough job descriptions for you to really grasp what it's supposed to be. And so that's kind of what we're here to do, is kind of help navigate that, adding some content to the community to help out. And so I'm sure that's one of the things you're wondering to yourself, like, before I met with Peggy, I was kind of like a little all over the place. Mm-hmm. The more I meet with Peggy, the more I hear from Peggy, the more I'm like, yeah, I really feel compelled to ISA. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not going to say no to anything that gets me experience in the field, right? Because that's primarily what I need. I didn't automatically come with 20 years experience in IT in general. It didn't just fall in my lap. So I'm sure PCI is going to be the exact same way for me. But I do want to be intentional about my next step.
Yeah, be intentional. Be on purpose. Nobody grows up wanting to work in PCI. So, and if you did, no, you really didn't.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's so funny. You know, I don't know if I told you, Peggy, right? But it was my wife who came to me in December of 2022. And she was like, you know, you're going to have to get a job that pays you way better than what you're making now. Because if you want to buy more comic books, that's going to be a running gag you're going to hear often, Peggy.
Yeah. I'm doing this because I'm buying more comic books.
Yeah, she was like, you're going to need to make more money so that you don't impact the family when you buy your comic books. And I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea, right? And so she was like, I signed you up for this class. I'm going to need you to show up on Wednesday. And I was like, what? And so that's exactly what happened. I showed up on that Wednesday and I was like, I didn't even know what was happening still. I was like, okay, so what are you going to teach me? What am I about to fork over to you to learn? And they were like, so it'll be PCI DSS. And I was like in my mind, I fell back in my chair and landed because Peggy, I was there before PCI came out. I was helping all the Ma Pa restaurants back in the day when it started and stuff. Yeah. And so as odd as it sounds, I do not like PCI. I don't even know how to appropriately put it into words, but only from the serious side of it, because I saw so many mom and pa restaurants get closed down in the early days, and it hurt my heart to no end to see mom and pa's who were open for 40, 60, 80 years getting shut down from a breach.
That's so sad.
It was very sad. You know, the fines that Visa, MasterCard, and everyone levied against them for those first offenses, back in the day, they were enormous, enormous, right? We didn't have hackers insurance back then, basically, right?
Didn't exist.
It didn't. And so to think now that we have this sort of hackers insurance is like, it blows my mind, because I'm like, I can remember seeing the faces of some of my customers, whatever, and just, it was heartbreaking, Peggy. It was heartbreaking. And so I have this connotation connected with PCI that is not good. So, but I take my learning and my future work very serious.
Absolutely.
Because I've seen that, and I don't want it to happen to anyone else ever again.
So again, most everybody knows now that I started in PCI in, well, it was 2011, but I became an ISA in 2012. So I was there when all the big box breaches were happening: TJ Maxx, Home Depot, Target. And it led me to a couple of things. One, as much as I disliked and used to say I'm quitting every day, I realized that my job was to keep my company out of the 24/7 news cycle. That was my job. Mm-hmm. That was it. And if I had 300 and some odd security requirements that needed to be followed, how was I going to teach everybody what they needed to know so everybody else was on board? And how were we going to make it easy for people? Not just for my system administrators, but also how was I going to make it easy for the QSA to come in and assess? I was looking at, I had two different groups of people that I needed to keep happy. I didn't really care about me. I just ate cookies, and Lisa and I would talk about going out drinking. But I wanted to keep the QSA happy. I wanted to keep what they were doing planned and organized, methodical. And I wanted processes in place to keep them happy. And at the same time, I wanted processes in place so that the system administrators weren't getting hounded all the time. I needed to teach them how to fish and how to maintain their own security requirements.
Yes.
I hated hearing, well, what did I give you last time? No. You should have a copy of what you gave me last time. Don't give me this baloney.
Yeah.
And I got tired of that, and because I used to joke, I am the highest paid babysitter I've ever met.
Yeah.
True story.
I bet. I can see it. I can imagine it. I could totally imagine it.
And that I was just like, I don't want to be holding your hand. You're an adult. You know how to do your job. You
Yes.
should be doing this anyway. It's business as usual. And we had a huge culture shift. It took me and Lisa a couple of years. So if you're at a level 1 merchant, don't think it's going to happen overnight. It takes time, and it takes persistence and perseverance and a little bit of perspiration. Those are the 3 P's of success from Napoleon Hill.
Oh, okay. Sounds like that was really clever.
Persistence, patience, perspiration. 3 P's of success. You'll find that in Think and Grow Rich. Really good book.
All right. So with all the things that we talked about for looking for the assessors and how to help us out with that, are those essentially the same for applying to the ASV scans also?
So again, you're gonna you have to pick from the list. You can only pick from the approved list. And again, again, you're going to ask your peers, who do you use as an ASV scan service provider? What are the pros? What are the cons? How's your working relationship? And again, we used the same ASV provider for the 10 years that we were there. They were fine.
Okay. All right.
They were fine.
Well, Peggy, I really appreciate you coming on tonight and sharing about this. I think anything, like I say, anything we can add to help people out and show them where to go to get information is always helpful. I always want to be someone who helps contribute to the community.
Me too.
I feel that's the same way from you. Every time I go on the LinkedIn, I'm able to see any of your posts. It's like you're definitely putting down some knowledge out there for everyone to think about. If you guys have not seen, you can go to LinkedIn and take a look for Peggy Nolan, and you'll see she is always dropping great nuggets of information. So if you are someone who is in the cybersecurity world or you're getting into it and you're wanting to learn more, Peggy is definitely one of those thought leaders that I look to when I go online. And I see a lot of the posts that she makes are very informative. And I'm a reader. I'm not someone who likes to watch a lot per se and consume a lot, but I do love to read. And so I love that when I go to Peggy's posts, I can always expect something lengthy and meaty. That's my thing. I love to read, and it does get me thinking and stuff. But her post recently, today or yesterday, talking about her being in Dublin, I was all like, I really wish I could go there, but I can't this year. But maybe for future years. So if you get the chance,
it's easier for me to get to Dublin than Portland. So,
okay.
One, it's a direct flight, and I have family in Dublin, so I already have a place to stay.
Can't beat that already. See, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna give Peggy a moment here to kind of. I like to make sure she has a platform at the end where she can share whatever it is that she wants to share. And so if you all would be so kind to pay attention here to Peggy alone, we will give her the time.
Well, thanks, Jaime. Hi, everyone. I want to talk just a brief second about the 3 pillars of PCI compliance excellence. Now, this is something that Lisa and I boiled down into, again, 3 pillars. The first one is automation. So automation is important because it helps reduce human errors. It helps reduce compliance fatigue. And I actually think that for the longest time, I had PCI compliance fatigue or PCI fatigue as a blocker with the PCI compliance program, that it was a real tangible thing. You could see it on people's faces. You could hear it in their voices. You could see it when they rolled their eyes. People are tired of PCI, of having to do things business as usual or whatever, or just do their own job, but then have to deliver the evidence and the artifacts. So anytime that you can automate, you're going to reduce that PCI fatigue. And automation helps improve the quality of the evidence, right? Because now that it's automated, you don't have a human factor coming in and mucking it up. So automation really helps. It helps prevent human errors. It helps reduce compliance fatigue, and it improves the quality of the evidence and the artifacts that are being submitted. The second pillar is education. This is like it's my joy to teach people about PCI. That's why I come on Jaime's show. That's why Lisa and I have the Resource Center out on our website at paymentcardassessments.com. We want to teach the next group of people how to do PCI to help them keep their organizations out of the 24/7 news cycle. That's your primary mission. So we help reduce the time it takes for your employees to get the PCI knowledge that they need when they need it. So we do it in bite-sized chunks. We don't try to throw the PCI DSS requirement at you. You can get that from the council or you can get that from other places. However, we teach you the ins and outs of actually how to do PCI at your organization. We teach you how to do a scope assessment, how to manage a report on compliance. We teach you how to decrypt the PCI DSS requirements, right? There's a lot of things in the DSS requirements that you don't get taught in any training, but we teach you because, again, Lisa and I have a combined 40,000 hours of experience in PCI DSS compliance. The third pillar of excellence is to operate effectively and efficiently. This is what takes the chaos out of PCI compliance, and it gives you back the time so that you can mature your PCI DSS compliance program. So what you're looking in this third pillar for is where can you improve existing processes? What can you make that's repeatable? Now, again, if you can make a process that's repeatable, you can automate it. So again, the three pillars of PCI compliance excellence are automation, education, and operating effectively and efficiently. You can find us at paymentcardassessments.com. Check out our resource center. It's a monthly subscription, and you're going to get courses, guidebooks, checklists. You get the our PCI compliance framework. You get it all. And we're dropping new content on a regular basis. So I'll see you in the Resource Center. I'll see you online. Also, make sure you sign up for our free masterclass, How to Win at PCI Compliance and Get 7 Proven Strategies.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look, so I purposefully finally saved the Q&A for tomorrow on my calendar. I was like, I'm not going to miss this. But it was so funny, Peggy, because I opened the email up yesterday, and I don't remember how it started, but I was like, darn it, I missed it again. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. So I was like, oh no,
4:30 tomorrow.
Yes. So I saved the time. I put it on my calendar, and I put the email in my calendar, and I was like, there should be no reason I missed this tomorrow. Okay. Right. So I'm excited to join.
We do a monthly, just in case anybody wants to know, we do a monthly Q&A call for resource subscribers. Because the Resource Center is largely hands-off, it's self-service, we add this monthly Q&A so that you get time with me and Lisa.
Awesome, awesome. Peggy, thank you so much for coming tonight. I'm going to watch this again so I can pick up more. It's always hard to rewatch it because you know how you get when you hear your own voice, and it's cringe when I watch it. And so I always have to minimize it and just be like, I'm going to listen to it. But it gets a little cringy for me too, because I'm like, I can't believe I said that. I can't believe I did that. I can't.
So the only thing I'm kind of worried about is that I kind of zigzagged all over the place with how to pick your QSA. That's the only thing. And I really hope that our conversation, I know it was very organic, but everybody got some really good solid tips to be able to select a QSA and or an ASV scan provider.
Yes. And I think they will be. I'm actually pulling up the website, or not the website. I'm pulling up the give me 1 second. I want to look at something on the YouTube specifically. So
the other thing that people can do is we do have a blog post, and I'm trying to think, when was it published? I think it was published in October of 2022, and it's called Warning, Not All QSAs Are Created the Same. And in it, I have 10 qualities to look for in a good QSA, and then 10 qualities to be wary of.
Is that in your?
It's in our blog.
In your blog, okay.
So just go to the blog, paymentcardassessments.com. You might have to go to the second page of the blog. It was written in October of 2022. I wish I could figure out how to send you the link.
I'm
on
there
my
right
phone.
now. No worries. I'm there right now. I'm actually scrolling through.
Oh, you're
Looking for
scrolling through to
October.
provide the link to everybody? So yeah.
So just bear with me here. October.
I think it was October. When's the published date on this?
USA. Oh, here we go. October 4th. Warning, not all QSAs are created the same.
Yeah.
I am going to post it in the chat. Now, if you're watching from LinkedIn, I don't think the chat actually works in there, which is fine. I will make sure to post it up in the well, it's in the YouTube chat. So you can just go to www.cybergangsterscybersecurity.com. It'll take you to the YouTube. Look for Peggy's today's episode talking about how to choose the right QSA, and you will see it in the comments in there. Okay. What else? There was something else I wanted to ask. Oh, so if you go to Peggy, if you go to the website, the YouTube website, and you look at the lives, you'll see there's some. For me, I feel they're impressive views, right? So I can see like here, like there's like 166, 146, 136 views each of these videos, and
awesome.
So people are out there watching it. They are gaining something from it. When I speak to my Discord, I hear that they're loving the information that we're providing. I heard the other day that someone was in their classroom and they had brought up, yeah, have you seen the CyberGangsters YouTube yet? That they're helping out a lot. They're giving a lot of information for understanding stuff. And the teacher was like, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, you should. So I was like, oh, that felt nice. I was like, let's tell Peggy and Lisa that. So yes. So everyone, if you have ideas, if there's information you want, or you think that there's something you'd like clarified, feel free to send us a message. Look at Peggy or myself. She and I are communicating and figuring out what to put out next. And so whatever people tell us or what they're feeling, we will make sure to discuss, and whatever Peggy feels good at and we can deliver for you quality wise, we'll get that to you. Feel free to message us both on LinkedIn. If we're there, we'll find it. Engage with us in our comments. We'd be happy to do that there too. Yeah. With all that being said, Peggy, I'm going to let you go, and then I'm going to just close out, and then you and I will have a little chat right after for just a couple of minutes.
Absolutely. Okay? Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you. All right, everyone. So another awesome time with Peggy. I really appreciate her coming on and doing this. I get a lot of joy out of this. One of the things I've always talked about is wanting to be able to contribute to the community. And not just consume from the community, right? I'm a big in my home. I tell my family, my kids, I'm like, we need to all be contributing to the family. It's not just about taking and taking and taking. Having said that, when you want to create content, you do want people to take that content. And so I am more than happy when you guys take from here, because that's what it's for. It's for you to get out of here. It's for not get out of, that doesn't sound right? Not for you to get out of here. Not like that. For you to get from here whatever is helpful for you. And so long as we can continue providing help to you all, I want to continue doing that. And so again, if you have any content that you want talked about or elaborated on, feel free to reach out to Peggy or myself on LinkedIn, or you can do in the comments. If you're in my Discord, you can reach out to me there anytime. I'm always making myself available. So just reach out. But I love you all, guys. I hope you all have a great evening, and just keep pressing on. All right. Thank you all, and we'll see you next week.